Welcome back to Adventures in Bread Making with Doug. Today we're going to try a honey oat pain de mie. Now a pain de mie is cooked in a rectangular loaf pan that is often referred to as a Pullman pan, or creating a Pullman loaf. You should look this up. It's an interesting history in how the Pullman railcar company created this pan in order to more efficiently keep bread and pack bread in on their dining cars. We're going to use that lidded pan for this honey oat pain de mie today. Let's get started with a few things. You notice we've got a number of ingredients here. We have butter, and the melted butter is going to be 57 grams, 4 tablespoons. We have honey, that is 3 tablespoons or 64 grams. We have some salt, that's 1.5 teaspoons. We have oats, and the rolled oats are 85 grams. We're going to get ourselves some yeast, 2¼ teaspoons of yeast. We have flour we're going to measure out, and that's going to be 361 grams of flour. And then we're supposed to put in 227 grams or a cup of warm water. But I have some eggnog left over from the holidays, so I'm thinking maybe I can substitute that. Milk generally makes a very soft crumb. That eggnog obviously has eggs in it. They also help make a soft crumb. It's got extra sugar, so this could work out very well to make a very rich, almost brioche-like bread, or it could be a disaster. We're not really sure. Okay, let's tear my bucket back to 0. And I said we needed all-purpose flour, 361 grams. That's roughly 2 cups. Let's see. Mm, 361. There you go. Into that, we're going to add rolled oats, salt. Let's measure out our yeast. And I said the yeast was 2¼ teaspoons. One, 2, and 1/4. That's a fair amount of yeast, so that means this is going to have fairly quick rise, we hope. Okay, we have our yeast. I usually like to get the dry, blended, mixed in together before I start adding my liquid. We're doing this in the Cambro tub because we'll be able to see the rise, and just cuts down on the number of bowls. Melted butter. This is a King Arthur baking recipe. I'll try to put the link on in the description of this video. Okay, when we get all of this mixed together, we're going to wait 20 minutes, let it rest, and mostly we want the oats to soak up the water, the moisture. Okay. I hate wasting any little bit of the ingredients. So the last thing we're going to put in is our water, which is actually a substituted eggnog. And we'll find out how well it does. As I said, it may be just making it a much richer mix. The sugar may throw us off a little. Now, if this does not make a nice dough, we may have to add a little water. Feels kind of like a cookie dough consistency to me right now. We're going to cover this and let this sit for about 20 minutes, and then we'll get back at it to get it ready, kneaded, and get it in for its rise. Oat Pain de Mie that's been resting for about 20 minutes to a half hour, and do a little bit of kneading with it to get it into a nice dough. You can see it's a little bit sticky, and then we're going to put it back in our container to do its bulk ferment for about an hour, hour and a half. It's a little cool here in the oven, in the kitchen. The oven's not on yet, so it's not really that warm. So it's a little cool. That means we're going to have to let it have a little bit more time. Although, as you saw, we had a fair amount of yeast in this, so we should get a decent rise from it. Okay, I don't want to work the dough too much, but I wanted to come up with a nice ball. Again, I kind of tuck it in that way a little bit to kind of mix things around. Of course, with the oats on here, they tend to kind of flake out. All right, so we're going to shape a ball, put it back. If we flatten it a little bit, I think we'll get a better idea of the rise. So you can see where we are now. I'd say it's about where that blue mark is. It's not evenly all the way across the bin, but that's about where we are now. Okay, we are going to continue with our Pain de Mie for our honey oat loaf, this one with the eggnog in it. It has been, you can see we haven't gotten a whole lot of extra rise out of it, but the dough has spread a bit more. It didn't really need to get doubled. We're going to take it out of the container. We're going to try to, it's going to be going in our loaf pan. So we want to kind of shape it into a loaf. Without doing too much deflating. Okay. We'll put that in our pan. We've greased it a little bit. We actually want this to flatten out a little bit better. Okay. We're going to put the lid on that and let that rise for its final rise about an hour to an hour and a half, but we want it to get about an inch from the top. So again, that's going to probably come up another inch to an inch and a half, and then we'll be ready to pop it in the oven. Okay. We're still working with our honey oat Pain de Mie that I made with eggnog instead of water. We take the lid off. It's been doing its proof rise, Didn't come up maybe as much as I had hoped, but the dome of it is within an inch of the top. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven. It is preheated, the oven that is, at 350. We're going to bake this for 30 minutes covered, and then pull the lid off and go for another 5 minutes uncovered to give it some color on the top. And if we wanted at that point to put a thermometer in it, it should read 190 degrees internal. So we'll put this in the oven and then we'll have a look at it after 30 minutes. Okay, time to have a look at our Pain de Mie. We're going to slide the... Yes. Slide the lid off. Okay, we didn't get a complete rise to the top, but that looks good. We'll let that go another 5 minutes to brown the top. Okay, although we didn't get any more oven rise from this, and that could be kind of a cautionary tale in terms of substituting things. We substituted the eggnog for water, so I might have needed to add some more water to it so the dough was not as heavy. But it looks like we've got a pretty good loaf anyway, even though it didn't make it to the top of the pan. So we'll let this cool, and in about an hour we'll slice into it and see what we've got. Alright, time to see how this honey oat Pain de Mie made with eggnog is going to turn out. Looks really good. You can see the crumb has a lot of the oat in it. It smells amazing. I'm going to put a little butter on it and have a bite. So even though we didn't get maybe as much of a rise on this loaf, it didn't completely fill the pan that we had. It has given us a nice loaf with a decent crust. There's a little crunch to the crust. Nice flavor. Don't really notice the eggnog, but the oats are definitely in there. Whoop. Well, Kodi has told me that the oven is ready, so I've got to check that. Thank you, and join us again for another loaf of bread.